Here's my least favorite thing about the brain that I hear all the time. You only use 2% of your brain, right? Can you help me use more of it? No, you are using so much of your brain all the time. 30% of your brain is active just when you open your eyes and you use your visual system. So in this hat box, I have the most complex structure known to humankind. This was somebody's whole life. This represented somebody, this 3-pound structure of the human brain. How you feel, how you think, your personality, your quirks are housed in that brain. It is you. And I think about that every single time I bring this brain out of my hat box.
Science hasn't answered every important question about how brains work, but we know enough to use that knowledge as a set of tools for improving well-being.
Even if people know nothing about neuroscience, they know they want to preserve their brain function.
Keeping your brain healthy matters to everything from your mood to your ability to remember.
Many people don't associate food and what they eat with their brain health. They think about diabetes, a family history of hypertension, but food also impacts your emotional health.
I'm Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett. I'm a neuroscientist and a psychologist, and I am Chief Science Officer for the Center for Law, Brain, and Behavior at Massachusetts General Hospital.
I'm Dr. Uma Naidu. I'm a nutritional psychiatrist, a trained professional chef, nutritional biologist, and author.
I'm Dr. Wendy Suzuki, neuroscientist and Dean of the College of Arts and Science at New York University.
We're going to teach you science-backed ways to transform the quality of your life through the power of your brain.
Neuroscience tells us the things that we can do every single day to improve our mood, improve our memory, improve our focus, and protect our brains from just normal aging, but also neurodegenerative disease states, dementia, Alzheimer's disease.
We'll explore the conditions of modern life and how they influence the health of your brain.
We have the ability to bring into our lives all those things that will make our brain function stronger, no matter what age you are.
There's a lot of hype right now about getting enough sleep. That hype is absolutely 100% correct.
Food can have such a powerful impact on our brain health. That power is right at the end of your fork.
I use this science as tools in my own life. Tools to help my daughter with her mood, tools to help my students, tools to try to convince my mother to listen to me, These are things I actually do in my own life.
I think there's so much exciting potential to learn about how to take care of your brain starting today. This is Brain Health on Masterclass.
The best way to coordinate and regulate a system is to make predictions about what that system needs to do and then make corrections. The way that your brain coordinates and regulates your body, and as a consequence, creates all your thoughts and feelings, is by anticipating the needs of the body and attempting to meet those needs before they arise. So to understand how your brain predicts, we have to do a little lesson in neuroanatomy. So just bear with me, it won't take very long. Your brain is a network of billions of neurons. So a neuron is a cell. There's a cell body where a lot of the work is done inside a cell. Then there are sort of branches that come up off the cell body, kind of like the branches of a tree. And those are called dendrites. They have receptors in them to receive chemicals. Below the cell body is a long trunk, the axon, and at the bottom are roots. They release chemicals. Then those signals, along with the chemicals, create every thought you have, every feeling you have, every action you take. Basically, they create you. How does your brain do that? Let's imagine that we could stop time, like just stop time. And we could peer deep into your brain, into that network of neurons. What would we see? Well, the first thing we'd see is that there's a pattern of signaling there that's already happening. That pattern of signaling is controlling the body, and it's representing the world. Now, the brain is going to issue a set of predictions about what will happen next. And it's going to re-implement or remember events from the past that are similar to the present. Figuratively, the brain might ask itself, well, the last time that this pattern of activity was occurring in the network, what did I hear next? What did I see next? What did I do next? And that's what the brain creates as a prediction. It feels to us like we see things, we hear things, and then we just react to those things. But that's actually not what's happening under the hood. So for example, imagine that you're thirsty. So you take a nice big glass of ice water. You think, I'm just going to drain this glass. And you just drink that whole really wet, cold glass of water. And poof, your thirst is quenched. Except, here's the thing. It actually takes somewhere between 10 and 20 minutes for the water to make it into your bloodstream, to travel up to your brain, to inform your brain that you are no longer in need of water. Why would that be? Because for your entire life, your brain has been learning that certain muscle movements, like swallowing, and certain sensory changes, like the taste of water, that those are followed 10 to 20 minutes later by no more need for water. It's just creating the experience of thirst being quenched by prediction. Metabolic efficiency, the efficiency with which a brain can regulate a body, is the key to survival. And it's the key to thriving and remaining healthy. Your brain's predicting the needs of the body and attempting to meet those needs before they arise. We have a technical definition for this called allostasis, but really you could think about it as body budgeting. Your brain is running a budget for your body. It's budgeting glucose and salt and water and oxygen and all of the chemicals and nutrients that are necessary to keep you alive and well. You can think about deposits to your body budget, like eating healthfully and sleeping. You can think about withdrawals from your body budget. So the most expensive things that your brain can do is move your body, standing up and moving around or going for a run. That's expensive. Learning something new, that turns out to be more expensive. And uncertainty. Uncertainty is really expensive for a human brain because it means that a brain has to be maintaining multiple plans just in case one of them is right? So uncertainty is really expensive, and prolonged uncertainty is very expensive on a brain. Now, expense isn't really necessarily a bad thing, because as long as you replenish what you spend, you're okay. It's just like in your bank account, right? If you're gonna spend something, you wanna make sure, first of all, that the money is there before you spend it. And then when you spend it, you wanna make another deposit to replenish what you spend. So, for example, going for a run or exercising or going for a walk, these are all expenditures. They're good expenditures to make as long as you replenish what you spend. They're like investments in a better, healthier you, future you. If your brain's most important job is coordinating the systems of your body in a metabolically efficient way, then that means that anything that you do to make that job easier will be of benefit to you. The benefit in each instance might be really small, but small savings add up over time. Similarly, anything you do which is a cost will be a small cost. In the moment, you might not even feel it, but over time, small costs add up to a big deficit, and that puts you at risk for metabolic illnesses like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, depression, and makes it more likely that your brain is going to struggle with some of the processes of normal aging, which means you're more likely to have difficulties with your memory later on. And so, what are these things? They're not, I would say, they're not really brain science, except they are, but they're so simple that it's hard to believe, I think. When I would tell my daughter these tips, she would say, oh, stop being a mother. And I'd be like, well, I am a mother. But I'm also a neuroscientist. And so, for example, there's a lot of hype right now about getting enough sleep. That hype is absolutely 100% correct. You really need to get enough sleep. What enough sleep is for you may not be 8 solid hours. Maybe it's 7 hours. Maybe it's 9 hours. Maybe there's a break in the middle of the night. Whatever it is, you have to sleep enough to feel well rested in the morning. And if you don't sleep enough, eventually you will not feel well rested when you sleep. And that's an indication that your brain is struggling to regulate your body. Another example, drink enough water. How much water is enough? Is it, should it be 8 glasses a day, 6 glasses a day? It should be enough that when you go to the bathroom, your urine is not super dark yellow. It should be enough that you're not tired during the day, because insufficient water, dehydration, doesn't manifest as thirst. It manifests as fatigue. So if you're feeling dragged out in the afternoon, it's much better for you to have a glass of ice water than it is for you to have a cup of coffee. Can I just say another tip? This is one that's really hard to believe, but the science is really clear. If you drink enough water in the morning, you are less likely to have that, dip of fatigue in the middle of the afternoon. This is the thing about the brain that's so hard to realize, and that is that we're used to thinking about cause and effect as an immediate thing, but when it comes to the brain, that's very rarely the case. Little behaviors that you engage in now, over time, add up to a large effect later on. And so by doing these little things now to make it easier for your brain to keep your body regulated, you're sort of doing your future self a favor.
So one thing that people ask me all the time is, what is the biggest threat to our brain health, to our central nervous system? And I would say that the biggest threat today is high levels of stress and anxiety.
One big concern right now is that many adolescents and young adults are suffering from mood disorders, anxiety disorders, depression. We're talking about something that really looks more like an epidemic.
Anxiety is that feeling of fear or worry, typically associated with situations of uncertainty. You might say that we live in a situation of uncertainty.
If you think about modern life, look at all the uncertainty that exists now that didn't necessarily exist before. Anytime there's kind of chaos or uncertainty that can influence your well-being, this is going to be a tax on the brain. And physical illnesses always involve your brain, as do mental illnesses, always involve your brain in some way.
Every single time our anxiety gets activated, it automatically activates that stress response that releases cortisol.
So every time you have a burst of cortisol, it's because your brain is predicting that you're about to do something that requires a lot of energy. And so it's preparing you to have that energy. That's basically what stress is.
When cortisol goes into the brain, it activates the sympathetic nervous system. So critical, because what that does is it increases our heart rate. It increases our respiration rate. It makes our eyes open way up, makes blood rush from our digestive and reproductive organs that we don't need right now to our muscles. Unfortunately, that's the same system that gets activated when we read the news every morning, perhaps when we scroll on our social media, when we talk to our friends and they tell us about their wonderful vacations. Oh, stress. Oh, I don't have that. We are living in a world where it's just hard to tamp down that stress response, that feeling of anxiety.
Stress in and of itself is not good or bad. Stress can be good stress, like exercising, and stress can also be bad stress or chronic stress, stress where your brain is predicting that you need a lot of glucose when in fact you don't.
The two brain areas with the highest level of cortisol receptors, that is, it's very responsive to cortisol, are the hippocampus, important for long-term memory formation, and the prefrontal cortex, important for your ability to shift and focus attention. And in high levels of stress, what happens is your memory doesn't work well, you can't focus your attention, but long-term, what it does, it starts first damaging the cells in the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex, and then long term starts killing those cells. So for example, soldiers with PTSD have been shown to have significantly smaller temporal lobes, and particularly significantly smaller hippocampi. It is damaging the cells and killing the cells.
If you encounter something stressful, within 2 hours of eating, that's like a little tax. It's a tax that, according to research, is about the equivalent of 104 calories. So if you're stressed while you are eating a meal or within 2 hours of eating a meal, it will be as if you ate 104 more calories than you actually did. Just that's the inefficiency that you get from stress.
We live with a high level of stress. And stress eating is a real thing. You also know that about 88% of Americans have some abnormal metabolic health factor, meaning that you may not have metabolic syndrome, but you have something off in your blood work or in your body that is basically indicating you are prone to developing a problem with metabolic health. I truly believe that this is based certainly on lifestyle and stress and other factors, but it is also based on how we eat.
There are many things that you can do to inject uncertainty and extra cost into your life that you probably don't even think about. So, for example, drinking soda with artificial sweeteners. What food looks like and what it tastes like are good predictive cues to what will be required when we actually swallow and start to digest the food. So it helps the brain prepare. So if the sweet taste doesn't predict the presence of glucose anymore, that means the brain can't use sweet tastes anymore for predictive utility. And you've just injected a bunch of uncertainty into the brain's regulation of the body. And that uncertainty costs you something in terms of calories, like it costs you something in terms of efficiency.
And the first thing we need to do is learn how to turn the volume down on our anxiety and on our general stress response. I told you about the sympathetic nervous system. What I didn't tell you about is the part of the nervous system that every single one of us should know about, get familiar with. It's called the parasympathetic nervous system, and that's the automatic part of the nervous system that calms us down. Did you know that there is a part of the nervous system that was designed to naturally calm ourselves down? And it does everything in opposition to the sympathetic nervous system. It slows our heart rate, it slows our respiration, and it shunts blood from our muscles towards our digestion so we can digest that Sunday brunch. It also directs blood to our reproductive organs, so it's kind of the weekend nervous system. You might be thinking, how can I activate that nervous system? Well, I can't slow down my heart rate or shunt blood where I want in the body. But what I can do is breathe slowly and deeply. That is the only thing I have conscious control over. And that's why deep breath work works, because it is activating your natural parasympathetic nervous system. And it's my number one go-to to turn down anxiety and turn down that stress response. So let me share with you my go-to in an anxiety-provoking situation, that deep breath. I actually use a boxed breathing technique, and all you have to do is remember the number 4. It is an inhale on 4 counts. You hold it at the top for 4 counts, a deep exhale on 4 counts, and hold it at the bottom for 4 counts. So here we go. Inhale. Hold it. Deep exhale. Hold it. Did you feel that shift? So effective. Again, you are activating your parasympathetic nervous system, and you are activating that natural de-stressing part of your entire brain. I think it's easy to dismiss all of the meditation gurus out there. Oh, they don't know what they're doing. It's not scientific. Well, I can tell you as a neuroscientist, there is strong neuroscience behind the power of meditation. In long-term meditators, they've seen dramatic changes in the neurophysiology of the brains of these meditators. They've seen anatomical differences in their brain, and that is the definition of brain plasticity, the ability to change the anatomy, physiology, and function of the brain. This is what you are changing with meditation. And okay, it might take more than 20 seconds boxed breathing, but with long-term practice, that is what you're heading towards.
Many people are consuming what we call the standard American diet. So it's high in processed, ultra-processed food, fast foods, artificial sweeteners, fried foods. And when I went to medical school and later psychiatry residency at Harvard, no one was talking about how food impacts your health, let alone your mental health. And I started to pursue this. Along the way came, studying nutrition more deeply, and going to culinary school helped me really find this niche between nutrition, mental health, and the culinary arts. Mental health and metabolic health are intricately related. The foods that you eat may negatively impact conditions like anxiety, mood, and stress. And I think that rather than look for the next best prescription, whether it's anxiety or obesity, why not we look to a healthy whole foods diet? One of the ways that I love to take care of my brain health is using diversity of foods. Gut and brain are connected. They originate from the exact same cells in the human embryo. They're connected by the vagus nerve. And what impacts the gut impacts the brain. So by including brain foods in your life on a daily basis and building these up, you will actually be taking care of your brain health. A rainbow of fruits and vegetables nurture the microbiome with fiber and provide antioxidants. Olive oil, fatty fish like sardines, and nuts are rich in omega-3s. Herbs and spices provide many benefits, like fighting inflammation in the gut and the brain. Brain health is a beautiful thing. One of the most powerful parts of my work is collaborating with chefs like James Beard award-winning chef and author Gregory Gourdet of Khan Restaurant in Portland, Oregon. Your special jerk cauliflower. I've heard it's wildly popular.
It is.
Cruciferous vegetables like cauliflower contain beneficial nutrients, are low calorie, and can help regulate metabolism. Here's a delicious way to make cauliflower one of your go-to main courses.
We will start by roasting our cauliflower, and then we'll get into this beautiful, very complex jerk sauce that comes together in just a couple minutes. It's really fast.
What I love is that cauliflower on its own is rich in sulforaphane, super important antioxidant for the brain. You're layering it with multiple aromatics and spices, all of which have brain benefits, and we're gonna watch you make it.
Okay. We're gonna drizzle this heavily with a nice layer of olive oil, and the olive oil is going to help absorb and help the salt that we're seasoning it with cling to it, and we'll get this in the oven. Spin it for about 45 minutes. There are a couple key ingredients to a jerk sauce: Scotch bonnet chili, the Fresno chili, garlic, shallot, scallions, 1 inch of ginger. I love to use coconut aminos. It's a little sugar, 2 bay leaves, a half teaspoon of black peppercorn, and then about a half teaspoon of allspice, and that lime zest.
So, Chef, you have amazing nutrients in here for brain health. You have prebiotic fiber from your shallots, your garlic, your scallions. Prebiotic fiber is what we need to consume to nurture our gut microbe, which you get from garlics, leeks, onions. That actually brings food to trillions of microbes in the gut. And when they are healthy and our gut is healthy, we are sort of more happy, but also everything else works better. Our gut health is related to sleep and circadian rhythm, which is our internal body clock, vitamin production, hormone production, immunity, our mental well-being, just our mood.
Incredible.
This is not only going to be delicious, but it's going to be great for your brain.
I love it. I love it. So we'll just blend this up. Okay, and we have our jerk-style glaze.
The
that aroma
is
gets you.
delicious. These delicious aromatics are great brain foods for us.
The cauliflower's been in for about 45 minutes.
Wow.
It's steamed a little bit, so I think it's ready to be glazed.
Oh, I'm so excited. Spices are really the hidden armor in your kitchen cabinet, right? Because they have these really powerful brain benefits. You know, mental health conditions like depression, anxiety are driven by inflammation in the body, and specifically inflammation in the gut, and can be helped by eating those whole healthy foods.
So we'll get it back in the oven and get it broiled up and beautiful. Okay. All right, so there it is.
Ah, delicious.
Beautifully bronzed. You see, it's nice and tender.
I love how when you slice through the cauliflower, it literally looks like
Yeah.
the brain as well. Amazing.
Cheers, doctor.
Cheers. This looks delicious.
Anxiety is not one thing. Anxiety, like anything else, is a category of variable instances. When the brain doesn't have good precision in its ability to predict, maybe your heart rate goes up, maybe your blood pressure goes up. We've all learned to make sense of that state as anxiety. That doesn't have to be anxiety. You could just understand it as uncertainty. You could understand it as determination in the face of doing something really hard. It's possible, research shows, to teach people to make sense of those high arousal moments differently. You know, I've watched this again in action in my own life. When my daughter was 12 years old, She was testing for a black belt in karate. And she was this tiny little thing. I mean, she was barely 5 feet tall. She was very small. And in her black belt test, she had to spar with adolescent boys, these hulking boys who were like a foot taller than her practically. And her sensei, who was a 10th degree black belt, he walks up to her and he says, "Get your butterflies flying in formation." And I thought, wow, that's amazing. I've got to write that down. That's like the best reframe I've ever heard. What do I mean by a reframe? I mean, he gave her a different concept to make sense of the arousal that she was experiencing. He didn't tell her, calm down, little girl, because you know what? Being calm in that moment, reducing the arousal in that moment would have been very, very deleterious, not helpful. No, he maintained the arousal and he gave her a different way to understand what it meant, which means that now she's had a really vivid experience that she can draw on for the rest of her life. This is determination. This is not anxiety. I am getting my butterflies flying in formation. This is not anxiety. This is determination. I think there are a lot of people who are really suffering, and suffering is real. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm saying, oh, just try harder or just use these couple of Jedi mind tricks and then you'll be cool. Don't worry about it. Digging yourself out of an anxiety disorder or out of a major depressive episode is not going to work with just a couple of lifestyle changes, but lifestyle changes in terms of thinking of the way in which your brain and your body are talking to each other and constraining each other. This will, I think, help prevent those disorders and give people more tools to get themselves off that trajectory if it's the one that they're on. You know, the fact that you're responsible for changing something that's not working in your life doesn't mean that you're to blame for that happening, but sometimes the responsibility falls to us because we're the only ones who can control it, right? Or control it a little bit, or have a little bit of control.
As we do this walk in the park, you can feel the overstimulation happening. So what if we want to turn that off? Well, this is where those contemplative techniques come in. You can focus on your breath, deep breathing, activating the parasympathetic nervous system. That is the power of meditative practices.
Oh. Hi. Hi. Hi there. That might not seem very meditative, but you know what? That cute little face is releasing dopamine in my brain right now, which is why I often take an afternoon walk to this very dog park just to say hello. Just to say hello. Yes. Hello. Hello. Hi there. Hi there.
When you're petting a beautiful dog like Bodhi, you are activating all those brain areas that are your social brain areas, the love and compassion brain areas, and that's why we bring puppies and kittens into very stressful situations. They are natural calmers, and all they want to do is get pets and get treats. And so life is very easy when you're Bodhi.
Yeah. Good boy.
What I hear from people that scares them the most is neurodegenerative disease states, dementia, Alzheimer's disease. Your memory defines your own personal history. Losing your memory makes you realize how precious that memory is.
Memory loss, brain fog, and anxiety are things that can overcome your life. That doesn't have to be the way.
Superagers not only had very healthful memories. They had very healthful looking brains. What are these superagers doing differently?